tutti venite armati, oh fatti miei soldati, la 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 la. Tutti venite armati, oh fatti miei soldati, la 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 la. Io son di vita amore, giusto sarettatore, non temete punto, ma in bene si erano uniti, me seguitate arditi, la 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 la.
The next stage in our musical tour of the 16th century brings us home to England at one of the most splendid eras of our history.
The fashion for madrigals caught on at the very climax of the Elizabethan period, an era which seems in many ways to have been England's springtime.
Now is the month of May, when merry lads are playing, la 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 la, la 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 la. Now is the month of May, when merry lads are playing, la 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 la, la 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 la. Each with his bonny lass upon the greeny grass, la 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 la. Each with his bonny lass upon the greeny grass, la 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 la. The spring glad all in gladness doth laugh at winter sadness, la 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 la. The spring glad all in gladness doth laugh at winter sadness, la 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 la. And to the bagpipe sound, the nymphs tread up the ground, la 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 la. And to the bagpipe sound, the nymphs tread up the ground, la la la. Fine and wise it we musing, you sweet delight refusing, la 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 la, la 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 la. Fine and wise it we musing, you sweet delight refusing, la 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 la. Say dainty nymphs and speak, shall we play barley break? La 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 la. Say dainty nymphs and speak, shall we play barley break? La 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 la.
We began with that well-known madrigal by Thomas Morley because it was he, more than anyone else, who led the English in the craze that set the whole country singing at the end of the 16th century. It has brought us here to Penshurst Place in Kent, not in May, as the gardeners amongst you will easily recognise, but in the height of summer. Actually, this garden has been here since 1346, though the Domesday Book records a great house standing on this site 300 years before that. Over the 900 years since then, both house and grounds have been continually extended and improved, most notably in the Tudor period, when Penshurst had close connections with successive monarchs. But before we look inside the house, we're going to sing one of the many songs the Elizabethans wrote about birds. This one, by John Bartlett, is about a pet sparrow called, rather misleadingly, Philip, since it's apparently female. Its species is rather ambiguous too. Perhaps beneath a thin disguise of feathers, this is a human female we're talking about.
Of all the birds that I do know, Philip my sparrow hath no peer. For sit she high or sit she low, be she far off or be she near, there is no bird so fair, so fine, nor yet so fresh as this of mine. For when she once hath felt a beat, Philip will cry, say yet, 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 yet. Come in a morning merrily, when Philip hath been lately fed, or in an evening soberly, when Philip lists to go to bed. It is a hand to hear my pip, how she can chirp with merry lip. For when she once hath felt a bit, Philip will cry still yet, 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 yet. For when she once hath felt a bit, Philip will cry still yet, 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 yet. She never wanders far abroad, but is at home when I do call. If I command, she lays on load, with lips, with teeth, with tongue and all. She chants, she chirps, she makes such cheer, that I believe she hath no fear. For when she once hath felt a bit, her lip will cry still, yet, 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 yet. For when she once hath felt a bit, Philip will cry still, yet, 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 yet.
Penshurst became the property of King Henry VIII when the previous owner, the 3rd Duke of Buckingham, fell out of favour and was beheaded. Henry had a passionate interest in music. He was an accomplished player of several instruments, wrote songs and composed music for the church. He also owned a large manuscript collection from which our next song is taken.
This lovely song, Our Robin, is not strictly a madrigal, but it does give us some idea of the native song tradition onto which the Italian form was grafted later in that century. It's a dialogue between two men about their respective lovers. Layman is the old form of the word. The first says that his love loves someone else. The second, that he's sure his lady is faithful. The song comes from a manuscript collection owned by Henry VIII. Did it perhaps strike a chord with that much-married king?
I cannot think such doubleness, for I find women true. In faith, my lady loved me well, she will change for no new. Oh, Robin, gentle Robin, tell me how thy layman doth, and thou shalt know mine.
Penshurst was the birthplace and home of one of the most prominent figures of Elizabeth's England. Sir Philip Sidney was a poet, a scholar and a courtier. Of all the men of wit and intellect that surrounded Elizabeth at court, he was the most outstanding. His portrait hangs here in the long gallery beside his queen. Just as Sir Philip paid tribute to Elizabeth in his pastoral poem Arcadia, so too did the madrigalists. In 1601, Morley published a collection of 23 madrigals entitled The Triumphs of Oriana, each of which ends with the words, "Long live fair Oriana," which was one of the many poetic names given to the Queen. The collection was an enormous popular success, though scholars maintain that musically it was a bit of a mixed bag. But this song, Come Blessed Bird, by Edward Johnson, is as fine as any. The bonny boots referred to in the text was Elizabeth's pet name for one of her favourite courtiers. He died young, as we shall hear, but apart from being a spectacular dancer, he was evidently the star of the top line in madrigal singing. In the end, the wood-born minstrel of Diana, the blessed bird of the title, is persuaded to take his place, trilling away on his finest top note.
fetch it. Oh, he is dead, he is dead. Oh, he is dead, and none of us can reach it, and none of us can reach it. When you unto us, sweet bird, thy shrill call, and I, Elbin, and I, and Doros, of fault of better will serve in the chorus. Begin, and we will go, and we will go, and we will go in order. Then sang the wood-born minstrel of Diana. Long live Fedoria, long live
Of the palaces owned by the Tudor monarchs, Hampton Court was King Henry's favourite, but Elizabeth preferred the palaces at Richmond, Greenwich and Nonsuch, all of which have sadly ceased to exist. The royal household's progress from palace to palace throughout the year, with its entourage of some 1,500 people, must have taken some mammoth organisation. From the paintings of the time, it is easy to imagine that life at court for the highborn must have been idyllic. But even rank was no protection from the hardships of day-to-day living. With such a large number of people and the lack of proper sanitation, each stopping place became rapidly unhygienic, and then they had to move on. One reason, perhaps, why they liked to sing about nature so much. One of the best known of all the English madrigals is The Silver Swan by Orlando Gibbons. Like much of the music of the time, it could be presented in a variety of ways. This performance is for solo voice with a consort of viols. The beauty of its melody and the prevailing serenity of its harmonies are doubtless responsible for the popularity of this piece, but these elements do also tend to shield us from the biting sting in the tail, where Hatton's words end, "More geese than swans now live, more fools than wise." In an age when some of our greatest poets were living, Marlowe, Johnson, and not least Shakespeare, it seems curious that the English madrigal composers chose to set so little of their poetry. What seems to have appealed was a verse that was slight, light, witty, and preferably with some element of double entendre. Let's take Fair Phyllis I Saw Sitting All Alone by John Farmer. Here we have the typical pastoral scene with its shepherds and shepherdess, but there is something about the way the words are set that seems to add to their meaning.
Feeding a flock near to the mountainside. Feeding a flock near to the mountainside. A shepherd knew not whither she was gone. Shepherd knew not whither she was gone. But after her love, a mentor's hide. Up and down he wandered. 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 For she was missing when he found her. Oh, then they fell a-kissing, oh, then they fell a-kissing, a-kissing, oh, then they fell a-kissing. Up and down, 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 up and down he wandered. Up and down he wandered, up and down he wandered, up and down he wandered. While she was missing when he found her. Oh, then they fell a-kissing, oh, then they fell a-kissing, a-kissing, oh, then they fell a-kissing.
We'll stay a while in the countryside and in pastoral mood while we pay tribute to the greatest of all the English composers of the period, William Byrd. He was considered by his contemporaries to have been the father of English music, and he wrote splendid church music for both the Protestant and Catholic services. But in his secular songs, he rather resisted the fashion for things Italian, preferring to write in his own way, often for a combination of voices and instruments, as in this piece, Who Made Thee Hob Forsake the Plough, which Byrd describes as a dialogue for two shepherds.
Who made thee hob forsake the plough and fall in love? Sweet beauty which hath power to bow the gods above. What dost thou serve, a shepherdess? I such as that know here, I guess. What is her name who bears thy heart within her breast? Sylvana fair of thy desert, whom I love best. Oh, how I fear she looks too high, yet love I must, or else I die. Oh, how I fear she looks too high, yet love I must, or else I die, I die, or else I die, I die.
Byrd apparently taught many of the next generation of English composers, including Morley, Weelkes, Phillips, and Thomas Tomkins, who wrote our next piece and dedicated it to his ancient and much reverenced master, William Byrd. It's called Too Much I Once Lamented, but it doesn't mourn the death of his teacher, who was still alive when the piece was published. No, it's another lover grieving over the loss of his beloved. And here, the conventionally jolly fa-la-la refrain is transformed into a chorus of depression, sarcasm, and acute melancholy.
singing, now chanting, go and singing. La 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 la.
This is Item Moat, another old country house in Kent. There has been a house on this site for over 600 years, but the present building was extensively remodelled in the 16th century. Its half-timbered, black and white style of architecture has come to be regarded as typically Elizabethan. Item Moat has always been a family home and was used as such until 1950. The future of this delightful house is now assured, as the present owner has bequeathed it to the National Trust. The countryside in Kent, known in Elizabethan times as now as the Garden of England, has hardly changed. The prosperity and growing self-confidence in Elizabethan England's age of discovery was reflected in the countryside, where new systems of agriculture were being tried and villages were enlarged and improved. Here at Chiddingstone, a virtually complete Elizabethan street still survives. The village inn has always been a focal point for meeting and refreshment, but in the latter half of the 16th century, a new pleasure had spread from the court into the country. Sir Walter Raleigh is credited with having popularised the use of a strange new herb brought back from the New World. When this sovereign weed was burned and the resultant fumes inhaled, it was said to produce wondrous good effects. And in many a pub, the following cry was often heard.
Come, Sirrah Jacko, fill some tobacco, bring a wine and some fire. Haste away, quick, as do not shun, delay, for I can go today. Come, Sirrah Jacko, fill some tobacco, bring a wine and some fire. Haste away, quick, as do not shun, delay, for I can go today. I swear that this tobacco, it's perfect Trinidado. By the very, very mass, never was better gear than is here. By the root for the blood, it is very, very good. 'Tis very good. I swear that this tobacco, it's perfect Trinidado. By the very, very mass, never was better gear than is here. By the root for the blood, it is very, very good. 'Tis very good.
Of all the pastimes that the Elizabethans enjoyed, and they certainly seem to have devoted a great deal of time to the pursuit of pleasure, one of the most important was making music. The Queen herself set the example. She was an accomplished player of both the lute and the virginals, and everyone was expected to sing. As one gentleman wrote, "Supper being ended, and music books according to custom being brought to the table, the mistress of the house presented me with a part, earnestly requesting me to sing."
And this is just the sort of music book he was talking about. It was printed so that everyone could sit round the table, but at the same time, they could all see their own individual musical lines. And there's even a part here for the lutenist. So, using this second book of Songs or Airs by John Dowland, we're going to finish this programme with his well-known Fine Knacks for Ladies.
Fine necks for ladies, cheap, choice, brave and new, good penny ones, but my true, the heart is true, the heart is true, the heart is true. Great gifts are guides and noble gifts again, my trifles come as treasures from my mind. It is a precious jewel to be plain, sometimes it shall be worn and multiplied. All others take a sheep, me a grain, of me a grain, a grain, of me a grain. All others take a sheep, me a grain, of me a grain, of me a grain, me a grain. Within this bag bins for laces and cloths and divers toys fitting a country fair. My heart beats where duty serves and loves, turtles and twins go through the heavy air. Happy the harvest.
Descubra el espectáculo de la imaginación con las grandes aventuras de los médicos sin fronteras en el efecto mariposa. Al finalizar, no se pierda la película Art de París, dirigida por el cineasta Jenny Livingston.